go to California. Let's go to Ceres, California, to a young lady named Jaime Hinton, riding the horse. I'm telling you, down south, this horse is famous. This horse is the Goob, Jaime Hinton.
So I grew up in Mount Vernon, Washington, and the Goob, I got him when he was 2 years old. Or I got on him when he was 2 years old. He was raised by a family in Farmington, California, Ozzie and Judy Gillum. They've raised a lot of great horses. And when the Goob was little, he was the Goob, right? He was little and scrawny, and he's a little dull, and you know, qualities that maybe somebody doesn't really appreciate, but I spoil the daylights out of a horse. I don't mind that he's always in my pockets, and I don't mind that he's acts like a Goob. And I think in his next life he's coming back as a golden retriever. Pretty sure he's gonna go hunt with the dad, and he's gonna play with the kids and protect the mom and like always be in their space, and he just has that kind of personality. And so, but then at the end of his 3-year-old year, I was hauling him to some ropings and heeling on him. And as a 4-year-old, he was going a lot. And then 5, 6, and the beginning of his 7-year-old year, he was pretty tough as a team roping horse. And then I started him on the barrels when he was 7, because all my friends were barrel racers, and he's what I had. I did not know what caliber of horse I had. You know, I knew he was a lot of fun because I loved him from the time he was little, and I first laid hands on him, and he just acted like that dog that wanted to be in your space, and you knew that whatever you asked him to do, he's going to give you 110%. I knew that about him from the first time I ever got to ride him. Then when I ran barrels on him, I was around some great barrel racers. You know, Lita Scott, Kathy Branco, Shannon Shade, just good friends of mine that were really encouraging and excited to see that I had a horse that when you love your horse and you really, like when you love your animal, it makes it different, right? It's a step up. And he just kept getting better. He's the first horse I ever won a pro rodeo on. And the first horse that I'd run, you know, a 16-9 on a standard pattern. And he's the first horse of that caliber that I'd ever really had. And he just, no matter what, I mean, he can be sore, tired, not eating, whatever it is, and every day he puts his head in the halter and tries. So I don't think you can describe what that is to have a connection like that to an animal like him. It's pretty unbelievable. So in 2013, he was gonna be 10 years old. And I'd kind of hauled him to some rodeos the year before, and I'd sold everything I had. I bought a truck, a trailer, like I was gonna hit the road and be a barrel racer. So in January, he just was lame. Left front foot, couldn't hardly walk. So abscess, right? I knew it was in his foot. I determined it was in his foot. So I went to doing everything I could possibly think of, soaking it, every home remedy. I mean, I had packed it in sauerkraut because someone told me to. You know, like I gave it all I had, and he wasn't getting any better. So I hauled him to a vet. We ended up doing an MRI. They said, oh, he's got a keratoma on his coffin bone. It's gonna continue to grow, so we're gonna have to do a surgery and take it out of there. Okay, sounds good. And then we had to just downhill run from that. He got bone infection in the surgery site. Here's a horse that's met me at the gate every day of his life. He's perky, he's in your pocket. He would just lay down 16 hours a day, not eat, not get up, wouldn't eat a cookie, which, come on. Who doesn't need a cookie, right? Like, you know, you gotta be feeling bad. So then when we figured out he had the bone infection, he went to UC Davis. And at that point, they told me that if we didn't do the second surgery, that his coffin bone was gonna continue to deteriorate. If we did the surgery, we're talking about a collapsed coffin bone, the lamina, the lamina detaching, all sorts of things. And I just told him at that point, let me take him home and think about it. And we decided that we were just gonna give it a go, doing our own thing and not doing anything surgically to him, and like give him a little time to just, you know, get back to maybe a better mental state. So we put him back on Silver Lining. He'd been off of it for a couple months just because we couldn't hardly get him to eat. He wasn't eating any grain. So we put him on Silver Linings Immune, and he'd been on that stuff for previous years when I worked for Gillum's. They were actually the ones that introduced me to Silver Lining. So I was very familiar with it at that point, and then just wanted to give him everything I absolutely could give him to try to get him healthy, or to a point where he was comfortable so I could retire him. At that point, I had a vet call me up that's Dr. Tom Yarborough, and he'd heard about him and said, hey, I think that you have a horse that I might be interested in looking at. He looked at all the pictures, everything that had happened from the previous year, and he says, I got an idea. I can get this horse reasonably sound, and we're gonna get him back in the arena. I can guarantee you that. And I laughed at him and said, no offense, man, but I've had five of the best vets on the West Coast, and they've all told me the same thing, and look what I've got. So he's a real creative thinker, that guy, and he gave me a new plan and was real supportive of feeding Silver Lining and doing anything I could to help the immune system. That was a big deal to him. So we put him in a really creative shoe. It looked like a medieval shoe. It was crazy. And we got him back in about 4 months. We got him to where he could travel like a normal horse. He was getting around pretty comfortable. And then in 8 months, I was able to ride him again, which was mind-blowing. So I snuck him off to a barrel race because I really do believe if you have that horse you think is a superstar, you let the world, he gets to go out a superstar. So I drove over to a barrel race in King City that night where I didn't think there'd be hardly anybody, and made a run and won the barrel race, and I lost it. Bald. So I think he was worried going into the arena that night, and I was terrified. And then, but when we just took off, right, like right back to work he went. I think he's one of those horses that I think you could tear a leg off him, he'd still try. He's gonna try no matter what happens to him. And really, truly, every time I ride through the gate, I know that I'm on gifted time. It's not borrowed time, it's gifted time. It was given back to me. So if you're gonna be out here sweating to death and busting your butt down the road and doing all this hard work, it's pretty cool when you have a horse like that you know is just trying his tail off every single time you ask him. He's gonna give me his guts.
Let's go to California. Let's go to Ceres, California, to a young lady named Jaime Hinton, riding the horse. I'm telling you, down south, this horse is famous. This horse is the Goob, Jaime Hinton. She wants to take the world